Hey, hello, you're stuck in traffic with Wolf Gordon. A couple-minute riff on IT and IT security. Welcoming 2017. We are in a whole new year. So today we're looking at the hype, right? Because of course, you would think, long break, no hype, no one's going to be publishing anything outrageous. We're going to stick to the facts, right? Isn't that what should happen? Yeah, right. You probably saw a lot of pretty far out there, pretty clickbait headlines over the past couple of days. And today I want to talk about one in particular, which is the Vermont power company gets hacked by the Russians. U.S. power grid at risk. Tip to you, when you read these things, read between the lines and try to look for what is the actual cause and strip that away from any media bias. This is a perfect example of that. So the headline was that this little power plant, or power utility rather, out in Vermont was hacked by the Russians. What actually transpired when you looked at it was one notebook had become infected. I'm going to get back to what it was infected with in just a minute, because that's how the Russians come into play. But one notebook. Now, if you've looked at the power grid in any sort of level, you probably pretty quickly realize that NERC-CIP is the primary regulation there. And NERC-CIP, like PCI and many others, mandates segmentation. So that is to say, the infrastructure, industrial controls, and traditional computing that does power distribution is different than the infrastructure that does power generation. Is different than the infrastructure that does back office. Is different than the infrastructure that does billing. And these different zones are segmented, at least into one segment per zone, sometimes into multiple segments. These particular segments are then firewalled and monitored, and there's a number of controls in place to make sure that data and things do not cross between them. Had the computer in question been within the generation or distribution, you could reasonably say that perhaps there's a risk to the power utility, right? In fact, it was a traveling notebook. A notebook that was taken home, taken to coffee shops here and there, right? Not connected in any way, shape, or form to the power distribution. So what that means is, that's no different than my notebook getting infected, or your notebook getting infected, or anyone's notebook getting infected. In terms of its impact on the power grid. Number two, the Russians have attacked. Well, they thought the Russians were involved because early reports showed it was malware similar to Grizzly Steppe, S-T-E-P-P-E, Steppe. So, even if that's true, the fact is that Grizzly Steppe, once the malware was known and everyone's been talking about it, has been made available for download, right? You can take a look at it, you can pull it apart, you can see what's involved with it. So, the fact that saying, well, the Russians got us, pretty broad claim, considering any one of the people listening to this video could download and put it on a traveling laptop that was probably in the coffee shop unprotected. But even so, once the news broke, the Vermont Power Company backpedaled and said, no, we didn't say it was Grizzly Steppe's malware, we just said we saw unusual traffic from the laptop that could have been like the Grizzly Steppe attack. Again, laptops get infected all the time. Malicious laptop communication on a laptop, one of the number one things security operations centers are investigating, right? This is what laptops are for. They get to be used by users and to be infected by any number of things. So the leap to Russian attackers getting the power grid is quite a big one. So always be careful when you're reading these articles to try and suss out the details and see what's really truly going on. We've seen a pretty egregious example recently of something like this, right? Somewhere where the media's like, oh no, we're all on fire, and you're like, no, it was really someone who lit a lighter. It's all good. Hit me up in comments or on social media. Have a good one.